Welcome back. You're watching Ayubowan Sri Lanka, and today we are with Mr. Malinda Senevirathne, the very well-known freelance journalist. And it was his analysis about the results we're getting on the elections. So he was referring to the large gaps that can be seen, and he said that this was also due to the fact that we also expected a close fight, but it seems that it was also the hype that was created about the opposition candidate. And we also spoke about the JVP factor, that is the JVP last time in the presidential election supported the Malinda Rajapaksa, but this time was supporting the opposition. But having said that, he said the JVP as a whole has changed, and their main voice, Deepamala is also now supporting. So the status quo actually has changed, and he also spoke about the level of acceptance when it comes to JVP and what this result actually tells to the society, and that is the fact that JVP, by now sort of standing with the UNP, having a very diverse ideology, has also sort of questioned the fundamentals that they were standing for all the while. He also referred to the electorate of the Colombo Municipal Council, and according to his words, he says even if heaven on earth was created, this electorate will always have a bias towards the UNP, and he says theses can be written on this because it's a very interesting phenomena. Also about the northern word, his analysis was that the registration, the number of people who has been voted, is based on the census done in 1981, and there has to be another census when it comes to the number of people who can actually exercise the vote, because majority would now be relocated, and especially in the west and abroad. So the number and the expectations were also unrealistic. And he also talked about the TNA influence there, because from the votes they have got, the postal vote and all that is in favor of the opposition candidate Sarath Fonseca. So the influence of the TNA can be seen there, maybe due to the propositions like the Northeast merger. So when it came to election violence, what he also mentioned was that compared to so many other elections, also especially referring to the 1988 elections, where there was about more than 800 killings on the day of the elections, to now this has been one of the most free and fair elections where violence was less. And he was quoting some websites who are also doing election monitoring, which will hold evidence for that. And on that note, again, back to you, Malinda. What can you say about the responsibility of the voter, that is the people who voted for the president and people who didn't vote for the president?
Now, Deepamala, I'm of the view that voters like you and me, we've had our day in the sun. It's all done, finished. That was yesterday. Until 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. on election day, we were the kingmakers, no queens, but kingmakers. And 4 o'clock, our relevance is over as far as the candidates are concerned. Because from then onwards, it's a matter of counting. Someone wins, and we become relevant only when the next major election comes, not even the provincial council, the major election. Then again, we become relevant. So, but this politics and our civic duty does not start when elections are announced, and they don't end when the election results are released. It's a continuous thing, and we all have to decide. It's a personal choice, it's a personal decision what we do for this society and in the larger political framework within which we operate. Now, I may have voted for the winner, I may have voted for the one of the losers, right? If I have voted for the winner, I can't just sit at home and I can enjoy and celebrate and so on, but then I also have a responsibility to make sure to support him in all the things that he does in terms of the mandate that he has been, in terms of the manifesto that he has presented to me. And I have to be very critical of him when he strays from that, right? That is part of my support for the candidate of my choice. If I voted against him, if I voted for someone else who lost, that does not mean that that political project has to be abandoned. It has failed at this particular moment, on this particular day, for a number of reasons, who knows what. But we don't abandon the project. The project has to go on. We have to find different ways of articulating it, different ways of organizing, mobilizing support, and so on, and maintain our relevance. maintain the relevance of our political position, the utopias that we want to think about, the kind of society that we want our children to live in. We are convinced that this man is not going to deliver, then we have to find a way of making him deliver, or organizing ourselves in a way that at such and such a date, when the next election is called, our candidate has a better choice. So those are roughly the kind of ways in which the voters can think. On that, there's a special voter also, the person who wins. In this case, it's very clear that it's Malinda Rajapaksa. Now, Malinda Rajapaksa has to understand that he is not the president of the so many people who voted for him. He is the president of every citizen of this country. He represents everyone. If he makes a stupid statement somewhere, that's a reflection on all of us. If he does something, if he achieves something of significance, that is positive not only for those who voted for him, but for those who didn't, even if they will not say it, like this Columbans, as people call him. That so he has responsibility to everyone. He is the president of every citizen of this country. I remember when he won the presidency in 2005, he quoted from Arahat Mahinda, and he said, "I am just a custodian. I am not the owner. Temporary custodian." That entails certain responsibilities, and we can argue that he has not delivered on a lot of things. He has delivered on some, and he has to be held accountable, right? And at the end of the day, now since he is a second term president, Malinda Rajapaksa has to think about one thing only. Now he has won the election twice, he has become president twice. Now only one thing remains: what kind of legacy he leaves behind? How is he going to be remembered by history, by our grandchildren, right? So the fact that he won the election twice is going to be a very small, written in very small letters in the history books. But has he given us a better society? He had a lot of challenges, lot of opposition in his first term. There was a terrorist outfit that was fighting, so on. But this is his final opportunity. So he has to decide how he wants to be remembered, and he has to be responsible, accountable, transparent, all those things that we were willing, where he did not deliver, or he was willing to ignore. We were willing to forgive because of certain realities, like the LTT. Now he doesn't have that excuse. So the challenge is greater for him, I think. So those are the kinds of issues, I think, that the voters, the president, the elected president, the opposition have to think about in the coming years. This doesn't end here.
What are the priorities, according to you, for the government now in the?
I think now it's development. Now we want development. Now we were willing to have our belt, tighten our belts, suffer all kinds of deprivations because we felt that the LTT needed to be crushed. People didn't want to do that. A lot of people who voted for Ranil Wickremesinghe believed that you could negotiate with the LTT, that you must negotiate with the LTT, you have to concede this, that and the other thing, because there is no other way, which is a legitimate position to take. But there were a lot of other people who held the view that the LTT cannot be negotiated, you cannot negotiate with the LTT, the LTT doesn't understand negotiation, probably doesn't know how to spell it, and you have to crush the LTT, you have to defeat it, and can be defeated. And that was going to be tough, and that process the people were willing to take some blows and look the other way, right? Now that is no longer the case. Now people will want those pressing concerns about economic deprivations, certain biases towards urban areas that have been there in the whole development practice, the paradigms that have been referenced, those have to be rethought, I think. And not that Malinda Rajapaksa has totally ignored all this. I think that in many ways those issues have been addressed, but then there is also certain